Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. During the declared emergency in the City of Toronto, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and in-person attendance limitations. This will be a virtual public hearing, and participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx, an online event that is being moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching it on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by their computer, a phone or tablet app, or by telephone. All participants are automatically muted on entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members are participating by video. Any registered participants will be participating by audio only. We ask that you also mute your devices until you are called on to speak. For all those who are waiting online, please ensure that you have called in with the phone number that you originally registered with. If you call in with a different number, you will not be able to speak on the item. To ensure audio clarity, I suggest that you do not use the speakerphone function on your telephones. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto was covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. My name is Alan Smithies, and I will chair today's meeting. Joining us on the panel today are Ron Hunt, Asif Khan, Paul Kidd, and Nadini Sankar Peralta. City staff are also present: Simon Lamb, Adam Wills, Kelly Reed, and Chris Pereira. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to property, permission to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. Anyone attending today who wants to receive a copy of the committee's decision must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address, because Committee of Adjustment and the TLAB will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. Just a moment. I'm sorry. I'll continue. If you do not agree with the committee's decision, it may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the committee's decision. The hearing procedure is as follows. I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant will proceed with their presentation if desired. If the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak on the item. The committee may ask questions and or take the matter into the committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, is given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching the 5-minute limit. When addressing the committee, please state clearly your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters described in the application. The applicant or agent proceeds first and will make their presentation to the committee. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. To ensure that a revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes, the committee may decide to defer an application if it has been substantially revised. And individuals, either in support or opposed to the application, are invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent has an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the previous speakers. This marks the end of discussion on the item. The application is then taken into committee for a decision. Are there any committee members here this afternoon who have a conflict of interest they'd like to declare? Okay, thank you very much. We have a couple of deferral requests on this afternoon's agenda. I have, the first one is item number 22, which is 183 Points Avenue. And I have item number 22, 183 Points Avenue. I have 4 people registered to speak. The agent is Asaba Al Mathno, M-A-T-H-N-O. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yes, can I get your full name and address, please?
Of course. Sabal Mathnou, QBS Architects,
Okay, thank you very
1670
much.
Bayview Avenue.
I understand you're asking for a deferral. Can you please tell the committee the reason for the deferral?
Yes, we received last minute report from planning, and we would like to take time to discuss it further with the planning, and as well as there is 2 letters of objection from neighbors. So we'd like to consider comments from these 3 items.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to ask, there is a planning report on file with your application dated the 11th of January, and they were recommending refusing variance number 4 for the proposed site exterior main wall height, variance number 5 for the proposed number of stories, and variance number 7 for the proposed platform area. They were also recommending that variance number 3 for the proposed lot coverage be 32% or less for the proposed dwelling and 0.74% for the rear yard shed. Were you going to discuss these issues with city planning?
Correct. That's the
Okay.
intention.
Thank you. And there's also a letter from Councillor Filion dated the 19th of January, which supports planning's recommendations. So I'll just ask, does the committee have any questions of the speaker? No? We'll go to the next person on our list. I have a Kenneth Lowe and Jessica Ning, N-N-G.
Mr. Chair, Kenneth and or Jessica are not on the call at this time.
Okay, thank you. I have Ann Turuta. Are you there? T-U-R-U-T-A?
Yes, I'm here, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, madam. Can I get your full name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Ann Turuta. I live at 181 Points Avenue. I'm the east side neighbor of 183 Points.
Okay, thank you, madam. Do you have any objection to the applicant's request for a deferral?
I think a deferral is reasonable given the planning committee's letter and recommendations.
Okay, thank you. I'll just ask the committee, does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, could I get a motion on the deferral, please? Mr. Kidd?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to put forward a motion to defer this application sine die to allow the applicant to meet with planning staff and neighbors to discuss their concerns with regard to the application.
Thank you, Mr. Kidd. Someone to second that motion? Mr. Hunt seconds. All those in favor? That motion carries unanimously. Madam, your application has been adjourned to the next available meeting so that you can consult with city planning and affected neighbors. Good luck. We're now, there's another deferral request, and that is item number Item number 24, 8 Findlay Avenue. And that is, the agent is Alexander Kruppen. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you, sir. I just wanted to ask, you're requesting a deferral?
That's right.
Yes, can I ask the reason for the deferral?
There are significant revisions to the plans that were mailed out to the neighbors, and we're in coordination with the planning and, get a new date.
Yes, I guess, I take it you've had the opportunity to read the city planning report of the 12th of January. They were recommending that you modify variance number 1 for the proposed lot coverage from 36.2% to 35.1. Modify variance number 4 for the proposed building length from 19.57 meters to 18.5 meters. And modify variances number 6 for the proposed platform area from 44.29 square meters to 10.74 square meters. So
That is correct.
you've had the opportunity to read that report, sir?
Yes, I have.
Okay, thank you. And so the purpose of the deferral is to meet with city planning?
As far as I understand, they need to send out a new letter to all the neighbors with these proposed changes. So what happened is we applied for something and then we changed it before we even went to committee, and then they mailed out the wrong letter with the previous one. So they have to remail it to all the neighbors and to post a new sign, and we have to, apply with the correct.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, can I get a motion on this deferral request, please? Ms. Sankar?
Sure. Through you, Mr. Chair, I'll motion to defer this application sine die to give the applicant a bit more time to work on this.
Okay, thank you very much. Someone to second that motion? Mr. Kidd seconds. All those in favor? That motion carries. Sir, your application's been deferred to the next available meeting so that you can, I would suggest you meet with city planning and to revise your application.
Thank you.
On to our regular agenda. We start with item number
Mr. Chair, if we could start with item that's referred to as number 2 on the agenda. As a reminder,
25 Walder.
correct, as a reminder, the the agenda erroneously lists it as a 10 a.m. session item, when in reality, the public notice indicated it was a 1:30 session item.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wells. We're on item number 2, 25 Walder. I have 4 people registered to speak, and the agent is Sarush Tavilzadeh, and that's Tavilzadeh. Are you there?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, can I get your full name and
My
address,
name-
please?
Yes, my name is Soroush Tahvilzadeh. Address is 231 Fort York Boulevard, Unit 332 M5V1B2.
Okay, thank you, sir. I noted that, gone through your file, there is just one staff report listed here. It's from Urban Forestry. There's a recommended condition. We do have people registered to speak, sir, so you'd like to give the committee a presentation on what you see as the merits of your proposal?
Of course. Mr. Reza, I believe I sent a presentation document that I can use for my stating my case. If we could open that, please.
Is that Rizzo?
As a note, the presentation came in after the submission deadline date, so we're just looking it up now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
In the meantime, if you could get started with your comments, we'll have it up in a moment.
Sir, if you'd like to start.
Of course. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the panel. So before I start with the presentation, I would like to make a clarification and a correction to the variance number 4 in the
Hang
list.
on just a moment, sir. Just a moment.
Sure.
You're proposing to make changes to your application?
No, it's just a correction and a clarification. We realized that the wording on the variances on the public hearing notice was different from the zoning notice and kind of created confusion for immediate neighbors, leading them to believe that we are requesting a different kind of setback and for the main property. So we would like to address that in order to make sure that this communicated properly with them.
Hang on, sir. If there's a correction that needs to be made to the notice, can you tell us what that correction is?
Of course. It should be the required rear yard setback and side yard setback for an ancillary building or a structure containing a parking space is 1.0 meters. The proposed rear side yard setback for the proposed carport is 0 meter. The notice doesn't mention the garage and carport, so that led to the confusion.
Hang on. Which variance number is that, sir?
Number 4, sir.
It says the minimum required side lot line setback is 1.0 meters. You're proposing 0 meters. What should it be?
It should be 0 meters, but it should also mention that it is for an ancillary structure and a garage, not for the main building.
Okay, I'm just gonna, Mr. Lamb, does that change this notice substantially?
Mr. Chair, if I may then, Adam Wheels here. I'd like to bring to your attention the zoning notice itself is as written on the public hearing notice, but in brackets, it does say detached private garage. So it wasn't, the actual wording in the zoning review lists the required minimum rear lot and side lot setback is 1 meter. The proposed side lot setback is 0 meters. And then in brackets, it indicates that this is for a detached garage and detached private garages. It's not for the actual dwelling itself. So what the agent would like to do is to clarify the statement so that it explicitly flags the detached accessory garage and not the actual dwelling.
Okay, so it's not an issue where this has to be recirculated?
I don't believe it needs to, but however, the speaker should be made aware of this. Can you, as each speaker comes on, can you please let them know? So the numbers don't change. It's just what is referencing, is my understanding. So we can add those wording in because it wasn't specific in the public notice. So the numbers themselves don't seem to change. It's what it's actually describing.
Okay, so I'm just concerned that we don't have to recirculate it.
I don't think so, but again, as each speaker comes online, can you just verify that they understand what variance 4 is in reference to?
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes?
Mr. Chair?
Yes?
Could I just comment there? I understand the 0 setback requirement, but for the proposed main dwelling, it looks, they don't show a setback on the site plan, but it looks like it's probably on the order of 45, half a meter or so, which is, there needs to be some kind of a variance for the side yard setbacks for the proposed dwelling, as well as the garage.
We're not requiring any setbacks for the proposed dwelling.
What are the setbacks for the dwelling?
Mr. Kidd, can we just back that off a second, and we'll let the agent make his presentation, and then you can raise that condition or raise that issue. Is that acceptable?
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, sir, if you'd like to make your presentation to the committee, can you please proceed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and the members of the board. Together with my wife, we designed this house as our own primary residence to address our need for a dwelling that can accommodate us as a growing family, especially since our parents are going to move in with us and live with us. And the same reasons affect the variances that we're requesting for this new dwelling today. The next slide, please. So we are requesting for a higher FSI in variance number 3 with an increase from 0.6 to 0.85, which results in a 62 square meter increase in the gross floor area. This is mostly a result of having a narrower and smaller lot size and our need to provide enough living space for our family. But to be mindful of the scale and proportion of the proposed design, we are not seeking for any front, backs, and side setback variances. And in fact, the length of our proposed design is even shorter than what is permitted in the bylaws. Next slide, please. So while we understand that each case is being addressed based on its own merits, I'd like to bring to the panel's attention that there are a great number of properties that have been approved for a similar or higher FSI than our requested variance in this area in the past. For instance, 27 Walder, which is our immediate neighbor, for 0.88, 147 Banff at 0.92, and 128 Banff at 0.98 that has been approved by this panel in 2018. And for the reasons above, we believe that this variance is minor in nature. Next slide, please. And the second main variance we're asking for is for the height and to address the slope of the street and provide a reasonable height and bring enough light to the basement as well as the other levels of our dwelling. We're requesting a variance, the variances number 1, 2, and 6, which result in a minimum increase of 30 centimeters for the side walls and 70 centimeters increase for the peak of the roof. Next slide, please. And you can find various number of precedents in the neighborhood which have been approved by the committee for comparable or more height. And again, for these reasons, we believe this variance is also a minor one. Next, please. The next variance, number 4, we are requesting for a setback variance at the parking area, which is accessed through the adjacent street, Roehampton Avenue. In order to maintain the large coniferous tree in the front yard, we did not apply for the front driveway and integrated front garage. Next slide. So in order to protect the car from elements in the parking space, which is very tight, we are requesting for this variance to build a very lightweight and not obstructive carport in the backyard driveway. And as explained, that the wording of that variance was kind of confused some of the neighbors. So if you go back to the slide number 2, the site plan, and the last request is variance number 5 for the access from the backyard, which is basically the deck stairs. We are asking for this variance to create, as an architectural expression, an unobstructed view from the living room into the backyard and a bench-like set of stairs, which will also provide seating opportunity in the backyard for gatherings. I really hope that these explanations have been satisfactory and the members of the panel kindly approve our proposed variances. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Does the Mr. Kidd, did you want to raise your question again?
Yes, if I could, Mr. Chair. I'm a little confused about the setback on the main dwelling. Can you tell me what the side yard setbacks on the north and south side are?
Yes. So the side yard setbacks are 0.45 meter on the south and north walls, and we are maintaining those setbacks.
Yeah, but the required minimum side yard setback is 1 meter. Is that not correct?
In this zoning, in our property, it is 0.45 meter. Given that there is no opening on the side walls, which we don't have any.
Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
For you, Mr. Kidd, are you asking about variance 4?
Yes. Well, I'm asking about the side. It seems to me that according to the variance 4, the required minimum side yard setback is 1 meter.
Okay,
But you're saying it's 40.45?
well, Mr.
meter?
Chair, can I just have the applicant clarify one more time that variance 4 relates to a detached garage or carport? Is that correct?
That is correct.
So variance 4 does not relate to the house.
Mr. Chair and members, as you can see on screen, item number 6 on the zoning review is the item in question. So we are okay because the actual bylaw code will point the zoning examiner to it being a detached dwelling. So adding the wording into the decision would be okay, and we wouldn't need to recirculate because the zoning review code itself points it to that spot in the bylaw.
So in essence then, Mr. Wells, the 0 meter setback relates to the proposed rear yard garage only.
Exclusively, correct.
And you can just add that into the decision to reflect that we don't have to recirculate.
Correct. And
Thank you.
if the agent would like, he could, again, officially read it into the record one more time to ensure we have it locked in. But ultimately, the zoning bylaw code, which is listed on the public notice, will point the zoning examiner to it being for the detached rear yard garage and not for the dwelling itself.
Okay, thank you.
If it was for the dwelling itself, there would be a different zoning bylaw code.
Okay, thank you.
I think I'm clear on that. I just wanted to make sure that for the main dwelling, the bylaw requires 0.45 meter setback for the main dwelling for the side yard. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does the committee have any further questions of the speaker? There being none, we'll go to the next person on the list.
Mr. Chair,
Oh, Mr. Khan.
I have a
sorry.
question.
Mr. Khan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, sir. My question is, variance number 3, FSI. This is 0.85 times the lot area, exceeds the allowable 0.6 the lot area. That is something more or less 30% more than the allowable maximum. Why is it so?
Thank you. Again, to reiterate my previous point, this is due to the small size of the lot and the increase. While it seems to be a great percentage, it only is an increase in around 60 square meters, which is not significant. And we also mentioned that we were mindful of this, that we are asking for extra FSI, and we had the reasons in order for providing enough space for our family. But to be mindful of that, we maintain the setbacks of the dwelling, so the building mass itself is not unreasonably larger than the character of the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you, sir. Does the committee have any further questions of the speaker? There being none, I'll go to the next person on the list. I have a Hugh or Barbara Fletcher. Are you there? Hugh or Barbara Fletcher, are you there? Hugh or Barbara Fletcher, are you there? Okay.
Mr. Chair, they are present. You'll be speaking with Hugh.
Mr. Fletcher, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you. Can I get your full name and address, please?
It's Hugh Fletcher, 3 Walter Avenue.
Great, thank you, sir. If you'd like to give us your thoughts on this application?
No, I really wanted to hear. I didn't actually have a question.
Pardon, I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I do not have a question.
Okay, all right, you have no comment? Okay, thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
Any questions of the speaker? There being none, I'll go to the next person on the list. Miera Waese, W-A-E-S-E.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can I get your full name and address, please?
It's Mayra Ways, and I'm 27 Walder.
Okay, thank you, madam. If you could give us your thoughts on this application?
Well, I originally was objecting to it, and then because I also needed that variance explained to me about the carport. And we had concerns because of the height of the building about the shadow or the light, the impact of the light on our building. And they've now shown me a shadow study that's reassuring. At this point, my only concern is because of the size of this project, and it's directly next to me. And I work from home and have a very young child, that the level of noise and the extent of how long the project will take to complete is a concern. But I've pulled back from my concern around the variance with the carport and the height variance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, I'll go to the next person on the list. I have Gloria Gratias, Gratias. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, madam. If I can get your full name and address, please.
It's Gloria Gracious, 20 Walder Avenue. I'm directly across the street from number 25 Walder.
Okay, if you'd like to give us your thoughts on this application.
I am totally supportive of it. I've looked at all the diagrams. I've talked with Sarush a couple of times. It is at the moment the smallest house on the street. What they're proposing is much more in line with the rest of the neighborhood, and I think it's a welcome addition. And because they intend to live there themselves, I'm even more encouraged by the dedication that they will have to do it as quickly as possible. I understand the neighbor at number 27, they're concerned about the construction, but I think that because they plan to live there, they're going to want to do this as effectively and efficiently as possible. So I am totally in support of this. My only concern about this whole thing, and I've mentioned it before, is I hope that that tree in front of the house can be maintained.
Okay, thank you, madam. Well, it is under, there is a condition from urban forestry, so they'll be looking at it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, we'll go back take it into committee. Can I get a motion on this? Actually, the application is revised because we had to make a change to the wording. So if I could get a motion on this revised application. Oh, Mr. Hunt?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have listened to the speaker and to the other participants, and I believe that subject to the urban forestry requirements, I would move approval of this document.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hent. Someone to second that motion? Oh, Mr. Kidd seconds. All those in favor? And that motion carries unanimously. Sir, your application has been unanimously approved, subject to urban forestry conditions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're now on item number 20.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Regarding item number 20, I'm in communications with one of the area residents who's having trouble logging on.
I'm sorry, Mr. Wills, what was that?
Yeah, so I'm in communications with an area resident who's having troubles logging on. Do you mind if we stand this one down for an item or two so that
Yes.
gives us this area resident an
problem.
opportunity to join? Thank you.
We'll do item number 21.
Okay.
Item number 21, 103 York Mills Road. I have one person registered to speak. That is a Shervin Farzem Beboudi, Behboudi. Are you there, sir? Sir, are you there? Mr. Baboudi, are you there?
Jesus.
Oh, thank you, sir. Sir, can I get your full name and address, please? Hello? Mr. Baboudi, are you there?
Mr. Chair, why don't we stand this one down as well,
I'll
and
stand
then
this one
we'll
down.
come back to it.
Go to item number 22 has been deferred, which is 183 points. We will go to item number,
23.
hang on just a moment. Item number 23, 27 Chariton Avenue. I have one person registered to speak. Mike De Oliveira, are you there?
Hi, Chair. Yes, I'm here. Good
Yes,
afternoon.
hello. Can I get your full name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Mike De Oliveira. I am the agent acting on behalf of 27 Sheridan, and I'm with Replacement Design located at 911 Davenport Road.
Okay, thank you, sir. I have, going through your file, I note that we have only one comment from staff. That's from recommended condition from urban forestry. You have 4 variances before us. It's pretty clear what you're asking for. I'll just ask, is there anything that you'd like to tell the committee that isn't contained in the material we have before us this afternoon?
Yes, I would like to point out there's also been 3 letters of support submitted just in the last week or so it might not have made it into your package.
Sir, before you start, are you speaking into a speakerphone? Can you turn it off and just speak into a regular phone? You sounding kind of tinny.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just using a regular headset, but
okay.
Am I any clearer?
Okay, go ahead.
Perhaps, Mr. Chair, if he could just elaborate specifically on variance number 1.
Yes, if you could elaborate on variance number 1, sir.
Yes, so the FSI, upon designing the new home, it was important for us and the homeowners that we design something that would be in character of the neighborhood while limiting our variances as much as possible. That's why I'm happy to say today that we're only here with 4 variances, even though we're doing quite a substantial amount of work on the property. We have the new home, we have the garage in the rear as well. This is a growing family with the need for additional space. And over the last 2 years, I think we can all see how important it is to have personal spaces that we can all escape to, both for work and play. I think the pandemic has all put a big strain on people's mental health and having those kind of places they could retreat to. This addition will allow the homeowners everything they need in the property. And this is an area that is experiencing much growth. And although we're asking for a floor space index of 0.63, this is well in line with other approvals the community has made in the past, such as for 58 Sheridan, which is a brand new house that was approved back in 2018 for 0.7, and also right across the street at 28 Sheridan that had received approval for 0.85. So we're well within and below other approvals on the street. So essentially this is going to give them everything they need on the property and is also sticking to the characteristics of the neighborhood. 58 Sheridan that I mentioned has a similar home to what we're proposing here. The only difference for theirs is they have an attached garage where ours is detached in the rear, which uses the existing right-of-way that's shared with the neighbor to the west, which we did receive a letter of support from. We also have verbal communications with the neighbor to the east who didn't raise any concerns, and we have support letters from those behind. So I believe this is well in line with what people want to see in the neighborhood and is what is going to continue to happen with all the growth that is going on throughout the city. Open any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, we have no other speakers, so if I could get a motion on this application, please. Ms. Sankar?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. You know, I didn't see those letters of support, but on file. However, there's no letters of objection and there's no debutantes here to speak on this matter. as well as no concerns from staff, and it does it seem to fit in the character of the neighborhood. And I do believe, for the reasons that were stated by the applicant, that it is minor and appropriate for the actual constructions, the build, and in accordance with the city plan. So I'm going to put forward a motion to approve this application, and I'll make it subject to forestry condition number 1.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sankar. Someone to second that motion? Mr. Hunt seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? Mr. Khan dissenting. Sir, your application has been approved, subject to urban forestry conditions.
All right, thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you. We'll go back to item number 20, 251 Old Forest Hill Road. I had Zachary Fleischer is the agent. Are you there, sir?
Yes, sir. I'm here, and my name is Zachary Fleischer, and my address is 333 Bay Street in Toronto, and I'm appearing as agent on behalf of the owners.
Okay, thank you. And we have 4 people registered to speak. So, sir, I just wanted to, I note that there's a report here from City Planning attached to your file dated the 12th of January. They have no objections to your application, provided that the building length is developed substantially in accordance with the site plan drawing attached to their report. So have you had the opportunity to review that report, sir?
I have, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And we have no objection.
Pardon me?
We have no objection to the inclusion of that condition recommended by planning staff.
Okay, thank you. We have, again, we have speakers registered on your application, so if you could give the committee a presentation on what you see as the merits of your proposal.
Yes, sir. And I have a presentation filed, and want to apologize for the late submission of my presentation, which the committee may not have had a chance to review in advance, as we were only retained late last week. I just ask that that be put up on the screen if possible. All right, thank you, sir. So before getting into the 3 variances requested, I'd like to provide a little backstory on the application. The owners of the property, Mr. Slewin and Ms. Kaplan, were married a few years ago, and they purchased the site with the intention of building a new home to start a family in, which is highlighted there in orange. As one should when building a new home, my clients reached out to their neighbors via email over a month ago to discuss the proposal and went door to door in the neighborhood before the holidays to drop off a package including the plans and my client's contact information to answer any questions or concerns. In looking at the context map here, the site's located in Forest Hill North, near the terminus of Old Forest Hill Road, just east of the Allen and north of Eagleton. The street and neighborhood are characterized by a mix of 2 to 3 story new and original homes, and many of the original homes have been renovated and include rear additions, such as that found at the rear of the neighbor to the west. These original renovated and new homes coexist with each other in harmony and contribute to a stable but not static neighborhood experiencing gentle infill growth. This block of Old Forest Hill Road in particular contains 6 new replacement homes, which are included there, which are very similar in size and scale to what's being proposed, or if not larger. Old Forest Hill Road also curves north as it reaches the terminus to the west, resulting in a condition of varied rear wall locations on both the north and south side of the street. That continues really as an existing condition of varied rear walls as you move east as infill development occurs. And if we could turn to the next slide, please, we can see many examples on the streetscape of new homes in both traditional and modern styles in very close proximity to the site that are similar to what's being proposed, with 5 that can be seen from the street right in front of the site. And turning to the next slide, I'll begin explaining the variances requested. Variance number 1 relates to the rear patio stairs and is being requested to permit 3 uniform risers along the rear patio to provide access to and from the soft landscaped area in the rear yard. No variances are required for the patio itself, and if the stairs were replaced by a railing with a 2-meter wide staircase where the blue line is instead, no variance would be required at all. While numerically significant, this variance does not give rise to any impacts whatsoever and is being requested simply for aesthetic and functional purposes. And I'd also note that given comments received from neighbors, I just wanted to clarify that the rear patio is not enclosed by side walls. The east side contains a 1-meter tall brick wall, acting as more of a railing where the barbecue will be on the right side of the drawing there. And the west side contains a 1-meter tall translucent glass railing that extends all the way down the steps. It is not enclosed by side walls at all. Now, turning to slide 4, variance number 2 is for a building length of 18.52 meters, where 17 is permitted. And I would note that this length variance relates solely to the 1-story breakfast nook at the rear of the proposal. The second story is 16.7 meters, which is under the bylaw maximum for length, as is the remainder of the first floor of the house on the west side. And a breakfast nook is a common feature in many new homes in the area. And I would note, of course, that a depth variance is not required. The bump out is also further set back from the east side wall. And turning back to slide 2 briefly, if we can, you can see that the sidewalls of both immediate neighbors, sorry, slide 3, my mistake. You can see that the sidewalls of both immediate neighbors on the right side do not have sidewall windows anywhere near the rear yard, and 249 Old Forest Hill Road in the top right corner has a similar bump out protruding from its rear wall. Variance number 3, if we can go to the next slide, relates to floor space index, requesting 0.84 where 0.6 is required. Section 418 of the official plan provides that the zoning bylaw will set up performance standards that ensure compatibility, with floor space index being merely a proxy for scale, and other than that length variance, which pertains only to the 1-story bump out at the rear, no variances are needed for height or building setbacks. In other words, the massing of the building, the 4 walls and the roof minus that bump out of that's 1 story, are largely located in areas contemplated by the zoning bylaw for compatibility, and importantly, do not cause any adverse impacts. Inclusion of a 3rd story results in a bit of a higher FSI, but there are no impacts arising
Sir,
from
can you
it.
summarize,
Again, no height
please?
variance. Yep, sure. Well, virtually no home anywhere in the zone is built with an FSI of 0.6, and the low threshold simply triggers a review by planning staff who have no objection. Turning to the next slide, we can just see that the FSI and length variances are in keeping with other recent approvals on the street and the neighborhood, with many exceeding 0.8 FSI and the length of 20.
Thank you, sir.
And to conclude, the proposal is in keeping with the character, and
Thank
it
you.
passes the floor.
Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, I'll go to the next speaker on the list. I have Etta Wharton or Richard Wharton.
Hello?
Yes, hello. Can I get your full name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Etta Wharton. I live at 249 Old Forest Hill Road.
Okay, thank you, madam. If you'd like to give us your thoughts on this application.
Yes, I'd just like to ask if the committee saw the submission that we made in writing, a number of us on the street.
Yes, we have it.
Okay, good. Well then, may I proceed then?
Yes, please.
Okay. I've been really privileged to live in this neighborhood for 50 years, and it's a privileged neighborhood. And I've seen a lot of people come and go, and I've seen additions and upgrades and modernizations. And most of them keep to, it keeps up the area, and almost all of them are in character. But there has been a change in the last 10 years. And what has happened is that tearing down existing homes rather than renovating has become the norm, and an ever increasing size and lot coverage. So what has happened, aside from the environmental concerns about all this waste of stuff going into landfill, is that we've turned into a construction and development zone. And these lots are small, and the houses that are now being proposed really should be on much more large lots, and that includes 251. The process is happening through a ratcheting up of the minor variances. Each one seems just a little bit higher than the last one, and the last increase becomes an argument for the floor for the next one. And we've been unable to find really good definitions, numeric definitions of minor variances. And the current plan for 251, in our opinion, is one such of these. They're asking for 3 variances, but really they hinge on the request for the it all hinges on the request for the 0.834 floor space index or coverage. This is a 40% increase over the bylaw. And in our view, this is a major, not a minor variance. And it doesn't matter what you're counting, whether it's how much weight you gained or how much the cost of gas is or COVID cases, 40% we consider a major increase. With the flat roof adding a 3rd story, it also alters the streetscape and the character of the street. And the huge size and the building enclosures, they take about half of what is now an existing backyard. And they will loom over the adjacent yards, particularly mine at 249 and the one on the other side on 253. They reduce our privacy, our usage, and our sunlight. There will be no further sunlight on our patio in the afternoons. And my garden will be severely affected by this. And maybe people don't think that much about effect on gardens, but this is a piece of living art, in my view, that I have been working on for 35 years. There was a discussion of the reaching out of the owners to the people in the neighborhood. I regret that the new owners actually made no efforts in the 6 months since they purchased the house in June of 2021 and December of 2021 to contact the neighbors, to introduce themselves or say anything about their plans, although they were working on these all the time during virtually the whole period. I received my first email from them on December the 16th saying that they had submitted plans to build a new house and they would like to discuss them. I'm afraid that this really kind of shocked me and really started my suspicions, and I searched for what was going on, finding the Committee of Adjustment a website, and found that all the final documents, the original submission was made in October, the final documents were made by November the 4th. They had months to discuss this if they had really wanted to, but what it seems they wanted to was make a very low profile, to be absent from the community, and to not acknowledge community possible concerns. It really feels like secrecy, even if and I think secrecy by omission is still secrecy. So I am actually asking for 2 things. One is I would make an appeal to the applicants, if it was possible, to withdraw their application, to understand and to undertake a real discussion and consultation with the aim of a plan that doesn't affect the streetscape and doesn't ruin the backyard and enjoyment and privacy of immediate neighbors. If they do not wish to do this or they refuse, I would ask the committee to deny all the variances as they're not meeting the requirement of the bylaws and the spirit of the mandate to deal with minor variances. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Madam. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker?
Can I make a comment, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Khan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to comment on the presentation of this lady. Some of the issues that she has raised are also concerns of mine, and I appreciate bringing those concerns up front. Thank you, Madam.
Okay, is that a comment or a question?
Sir, this is a comment.
Okay, thank you. Item number, pardon me, we have, next person on our list to speak is a Michael Goldstein. Are you there, sir?
Mr. Chair, we don't have anybody by that name or by the phone number provided. Maybe they're still trying to get on, so maybe we'll go to the next person and then
well, I'll
come
take,
back.
well, I have them down on my list, but if you don't have them, so we'll take them off. Next person on the list is a Marilyn Ray or Morris Ray, R-A-Y. Marilyn Ray or Morris Ray, are you there?
I'm here, Marilyn
Yes,
Ray.
hello. Can I get your full name and address, please?
Marilyn Ray, 240 Old Forest Hill Road, Toronto, Ontario, M6C2H4.
Okay, thank you, madam. If you'd like to give us your thoughts on this application?
Well, I just have a comment that perhaps these people have some respect and consideration for the neighbors on either side of your proposed new build and their needs, which you appear to be ignoring in your effort to construct a dwelling which you perceive meets your needs. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, madam. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, we'll go back to the agent. Mr. Fleischer, are
No,
you
there
there?
are more.
Mr. Fleischer, are you there?
Sorry. Yes, I am. Thank you, sir. And for the
You've heard
opportunity
the
to-
comments from the previous speakers. If you'd like to reply.
I have, sir, and I have some quick responses. I would just note that the purchase of the property was made in the summer, but it only closed in mid-October to oblige the previous owners who were renovating their new home, which took longer than expected. My clients only actually took possession of the property on December 23rd to further accommodate them. Efforts were certainly made to consult with neighbors, with such discussions resulting in the shifting of the third-story balcony from the rear to the west side to appease the neighbors to the rear, who were happy to discuss with the applicants when they reached out in December. Of course, those changes were made, and my clients are more than happy to work with the neighbors. Efforts were made to reach out, and unfortunately, they were rebuffed by the both adjacent neighbors.
They're going
Excuse me,
ahead.
madam,
and they're
madam,
not
you've already
listening to
spoken.
anybody.
The
Hold
agent
on.
has the floor, please. Thank you.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would note that number one, of course, the many efforts were made to reach out to neighbors and to appease them. And of course, if either adjacent neighbor were interested in having those discussions when my clients reached out in December, we would have been more than happy to work with them, as we did with the neighbor to the rear in shifting the balcony. I would note one item, it's not a flat roof on drawing A7. It is, I just wanted to note that, and that the variances, particularly the FSI and length variances, are well with keeping with the other recent approvals on the street. And I'm not sure if we can pull up again slide 5 of the presentation, but there's a home directly across the street with an FSI of 0.789 and a length of over 20 meters, and several homes on the block to the south, 113 and 117 Wembley, with FSIs as high as 0.98 with a length of 21.5. I would note again that the length variance really only pertains to that one-story bump out. There's not a tall wall there, and in terms of the FSI, the third story and really the massing of the building causes no negative impacts to neighbors, and it's unfortunate that they feel that they weren't consulted with earlier, and but my clients did reach out and wanted to have those discussions. I'm sorry that they feel that way, but at the end of the day, we believe that the variances do pass the 4 tests. They meet the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw and official plan, and are minor. They cause no adverse impacts whatsoever. And in fact, the condition that will be caused by these variances is the exact condition caused by both adjacent neighbors on the property as it exists today. And those are my comments, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. You understand, of course, that the committee doesn't deal in precedents. We're dealing with your application on its own basis, not on the basis of what's been approved in the area. You understand that?
I do understand that, sir, and I guess just note again that there are no negative impacts. I put these on the board just to show that it is in keeping with the character of the neighborhood and other approvals, but really that no adverse impacts whatsoever are caused, and we really do believe that these variances are minor in nature.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, could I get a motion on this application, please? Ms. Sankar?
This is a really tough one, Mr. Chair, because I do understand what the debutantes who have spoken against this application have said. And equally, the letters of support are also overwhelming as well. In looking at this, the applicant did show evidence that this is, development that is happening in the area. And when I look at it on the onset, it is 3 variances. And I see that, compounded with the staff report that does not seem to take objection with the 3 variances as such and has their own conditions. I'm more in the propensity to say I think that this is in keeping with the neighborhood and the character of what's happening there at this time. So for that reason, I'm not sure my colleagues would agree with me, but I'll put forward a motion to approve this application, and I'll make it subject to the January 12th staff report that the building length be developed substantially in accordance with the site plan, drawing attached to the report. And there is no forestry concerns at this time, so that's my motion.
Thank you, Ms. Sankar. Someone to second Ms. Sankar's motion? Mr. Kidd seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? A tie vote. I'll have to break the tie. I'm in favor of Ms. Sankar's motion, so that motion carries. Sir, your application's been approved, subject to city planning conditions.
Thank you very much, sir. And thank you.
Move to item number 21, 103 York Mills Road. I have one person registered to speak. Sherwood Avenue, are you there? B-E-H-B.
Good afternoon, I'm here.
Yes, hello. Can I get your full name and address, please?
My name is Sherwood Behudi from San Homes. I'm representing 103 York Mills Road for this session.
Okay, thank you, sir. I noted that we have no other persons registered to speak on the application. There are no comments or recommended conditions from staff that are attached to your file. You've got 7 variances before us. It's pretty clear what you're asking for. I'll just ask, is there anything that you'd like to tell the committee that isn't contained in the material we have before us this afternoon?
Mr. Chair, are we on 21? Item 21?
Pardon me?
Sir, are we on item number 21?
Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Khan. Yes, we're on item number 21, 103 York Mills Road.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, yeah, 21, item 21, 103 York Mills Road.
Yes, I actually just wanted to just let you know this project has been approved before in the committee for the most of the item before. We just changing some of the items here, and hopefully we're gonna approve again for the new changes.
Okay, thank you. I'll just ask the committee, does the committee have any questions of the speaker? Mr. Khan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I couldn't catch the name, but anyhow, my concern is the variance number 7. Sir, you have mentioned that it is 9.18 meter. Is it true, the height, building height?
Yes, sir. Actually, let me explain. The measurement is happened
No, you
from
don't
the...
have to explain, just listen, ma'am.
Yes.
My question is very short and you can answer. You have mentioned that building height is 9.18 meter, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, madam. If you go to drawing number A7, which is north elevation, and you do the calculation, it becomes 9.95. Drawing A7.
Well, you're right. And then drawings has been up-to-dated. Sorry, this one is mispresenting from us. The height must be 9.18.
That's, sir, if I can add, that's under the old North York bylaw, correct?
Yes, correct.
Does the height of your proposed building comply with the new bylaw, 569/2013?
Yes, the total height is 9.95, must be 10 meters, but we are 2 inches shorter than the total height. But the new bylaw, the old bylaw mentioned middle of the roof to the crown of the street.
Yeah, sir. So I'm just asking, sir, does the height, you don't need a variance for height under the new City of Toronto bylaw. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any further questions of the speaker? We have no other persons registered to speak. If I could get a motion on this application, please. Mr. Kidd?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Given the explanation from the agent and the fact that there's no comments from city planning staff speaking against this application, I feel that it's a minor and appropriate proposal for the property. I'd like to put forward a motion to accept the application without condition.
Thank you, Mr. Kidd. Someone to second that? Ms. Sankar seconds. All those in favor? That motion carries unanimously. Sir, your application's been unanimously approved without condition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a beautiful.
Thank you. Item number 24, 8 Findlay Boulevard's been deferred. Item number 25, 468 Whitmore Avenue. Item number 20, I have one person registered to speak. That's an Eden Himmel, Himel. Are you there? Mr. Himmel, are you there?
Mr. Chair, we do not have an Eden Hamil, either by name or number, signed into the hearing at this moment. Maybe we'll stand this one down till the end, until we can get contact with him and continue.
I'm sorry, Ms. Reed. So for item number 25, we don't have the agent here?
That's correct.
We have no one?
That's correct.
Oh, that's, well, you know what, is there any way we can try and get a hold of these people?
We will, so let's stand this one down and then
Okay, I'll stand this one down to the end of the agenda.
Perfect.
Item number 26, 1 Unicorn Avenue. I have one person registered to speak. That's a Henry Wang. Are you there, sir?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir. Can I get your full name and address, please?
It's Henry Wang, 3950 14th Avenue, Markham.
Okay, thank you, sir. I wanted to let you know I have 2 reports on file here. One from the city planning dated the 12th of January of this year. They're recommending refusing your application for the depressed driveway. I have a report from the 14th of January from Transportation Services. They're indicating that under the Toronto Municipal Code, which is not a zoning bylaw, it's a municipal statute, your driveway has to maintain a positive slope from the property line to the curb line of the street. And for that reason, it couldn't be approved under the municipal code, and they're recommending deferral so that you can redesign your driveway to comply with the municipal code. Do you want to defer this application to discuss it with Transportation Services and City Planning?
No, Mr. Chair, because I have a reason. Just
well,
we can't change this.
Sir, if I can say that this driveway is constructed, right?
Yeah, it's a house
it's already built, and it it's already built and it doesn't comply with the municipal code, which you understand. The risk here is if we turn you down, okay, then you'll have to rebuild it. You either way you can
I
appeal.
understand.
The only other way you can deal with this is to try and appeal to community council to approve it, which would require another report from transportation services plus another administration fee. So if that's the way you want to proceed, it's up to you, sir.
Mr. Chair, because we have to proceed, just want to say the reason to the committee. Because the garage they built is very low, and it's hard to raise the floor above the garage, and we kind of park a normal car inside the garage. Also, if from the photo I sent, if you can see from the photo, the construction started 2 years ago, and because of the garage too low, a garage door cannot be installed, and they can't park a car inside the garage. So that's the reason we asked for this variance.
Did you,
and hope the
sir, did you discuss this with staff before you built it?
the previous contractor was fired by the owner, and I think they made a mistake on this.
Sir, just a yes or a no.
Can you see the question again? Sorry.
Did you discuss the driveway, the depressed driveway, with transportation services or city planning before you built it? Yes or no?
No, I didn't. No.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any further questions of the speaker? We have no other persons registered to speak. The committee has no questions. Could I get a motion on this application? The applicant does not want to defer the application, so we have to make a motion on it. Mr. Khan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think Mr. Henry Wang is not taking your advice of deferral of this application for further consultation with the staff and go by their advice and save his time as well as money. But anyhow, since he has proceeded, so I would say that zoning intent of reverse slope of driveway is not minor. It has to be consulted with the Toronto Water Technical Review Committee or board, whatever it is, and transportation services. In my opinion, the application is not minor, the variance is not minor. Therefore, I move this application be refused.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Someone to second that motion? Mr. Hunt seconds. All those in favor? That motion carries. Sir, your application has been refused. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 27, 188 Burbank Drive. I have three people registered to speak. Is the agent here, the agent or owner, Deepak Lakra or Monica Lakra?
Hi, I'm Deepak Lakra. I'm here to observe, and so is my wife.
Okay, thank you, sir. Can I get your full name and address, please?
Sure, Deepak Lakra, 188 Burbank Drive.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going through your file here. I note that there's a recommended condition from urban forestry. There's a report from city planning dated the 11th of January. It indicates that they have no objections to your application, provided the proposal is developed substantially in accordance with the north elevation and south elevation drawings submitted to the committee and attached as attachments number 1 and 2 to their report. Have you had the opportunity to review those reports, sir?
Sorry, I don't think I'm being clear. I'm the owner, so is my wife, but Bill Ross is our agent who will be speaking. We're just here to observe.
Okay, are you the agent or the owner?
I'm the owner. Bill Ross is our agent. He'll be speaking on our behalf.
Okay, so you haven't read these reports?
Mr. Chair, you're speaking to the owner. We'll try and unmute Bill Ross to see if he's on. He's the agent.
Yeah, I understand that. Mr. Ross is not here. Oh, yeah?
Hello.
Mr. Ross, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Oh, I'm sorry, can I get your full name and address?
Bill Ross, number 9 Bestwick Lane, Uxbridge, Ontario.
Great, thank you, sir. I just wanted to ask, I just read out those, there's a urban forestry condition and a city planning condition from their 11th of January report. I just wanted to ask if you had the opportunity to read them.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So you're aware of them.
Yes, I read the staff report and we agree with it completely. We work closely.
Okay, thank you. We have 2 other persons registered to speak, so if you could give the committee a presentation on what you see as the merits of your proposal.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We're looking for some minor variances. The first one being a slight increase in coverage, 32%, which is common in the area. Second is the maximum permitted height of all exterior main walls. We're asking for a slight increase to 8.67. That increase is basically only for the top of the window frames along the 2 side elevations. The eave height there is complies with the bylaw for the actual wall height. But at the windows, it goes a little bit higher, and it's the calculations taken to the top of the window. And the parking space on the corner, we would like to have the parking space at the front of our house rather than at the side. That's a common thing as well. In North York, there was no requirement in North York for it to be located at the side of the house. It was always at the front. And it's the same for the neighbors, the adjacent neighbors have their garages facing the front as well. Just like to keep it the same as what's on the street. And as far as the items number 4 and number 5, the proposed building heights, that's based on the old bylaw. And we comply with the new bylaw for the maximum heights and the first floor heights. You have no variances for those. It's just a different way to measure the roof, slope, and so on. And that's the reason for the variances. And I would say we've worked with staff closely. I've read their staff report. We have no objections to tying it to the side elevations as they request. There is, I forgot to mention, the side yard setback is reduced for just the chimney, actually, or the fireplace. It sticks out a little bit into that side yard. And because I guess it's a gas fireplace, plan examiner who did the review must assume that it's just part of the wall. But it only comes out 9 inches or so, and it's 5 feet high. And it's just for the fireplace insert to go into it. If there's any questions.
Okay, thank you, sir. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, Mr. Khan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is simple. I'm simply inquiring whether Mr. Ross submitted the transportation services report, because I didn't get it. I didn't see in my package.
On this particular application, Mr. Khan, we don't have a report from Transportation Services. This is 188.
Okay, sir, thank you.
This is 188 Burbank Drive.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I didn't get it. Yeah, I didn't see. Thank you.
Any further questions of the speaker? There being none, we'll go to the next person on the list. I have a William, that's the, Mr. Ross is the agent. Kalidas Patel, are you there? Kalidas Patel?
Yes, yeah, I'm on the phone, yes.
Sir, can I get your full name and address?
Yes, my name is Kalidas M. Patel. 186 Burbank Drive.
Okay, can you just tell us what your
North York.
concerns are with the application?
I have the chapter 10, 20, 40, 10 to bylaw 569 2013, where he said the maximum permittable height of all side exterior main wall facing 0.5 meter as per the bylaw. And the owner wanted 8.67 meter, which is about 16% higher. Now we have a deck on the north side of the property of the new property, and that will be completely covered by the wall. And also we have a garden there, and the view, what we can see through our kitchen view window, everything will be offset. So I propose they should observe the 7.5 meters height as per the bylaw.
Yeah, sir, if I could just refer to the city planning report of the 12th of January, they addressed that issue of the height. I'll just read it to you. The application is proposing a west side exterior main wall height of 8.67 meters, whereas the bylaw permits a maximum side exterior main wall height of 7.5 meters. The proposed side exterior main wall height is due in part to the roof line to accommodate windows, as shown on the north and south elevation drawings. The side exterior main wall height is measured from established grade to the underside of the eaves is 7.49 meters. So that was their analysis of that particular issue. I just wanted to let you know that.
So total wall height on the south side of a new property, wall height is maximum 7.5 meters.
Yeah,
as per the bylaw.
What they're saying is the majority of the main wall height complies with the bylaw.
No, it has to comply completely.
They
Not the
don't have an
majority,
objection to what the applicant is proposing. I just wanted to let you know that.
Yeah, because
Okay.
Yeah,
Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, we'll go back to Mr. Ross. Are you there? Mr. Ross, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, Mr. Ross, are you there? Yeah, Mr. Ross,
It's on mute.
You heard the comments from the last speaker, if you'd like to reply?
Yes, I'm trying to reply. Can you hear me?
Yes, Bill, we can
Can
hear
you
you.
hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, the requirement is to the underside of the eaves. And there are a couple of windows along the side that go beyond the eave, and that's where the heights we're asking for. The rest of the wall along the entire side complies with the new bylaw. It's just the windows that don't. And in order to have windows in the side there, we have to cut them into the side of the roof so that they operate right into the rooms.
Okay, thank you.
Is that?
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? Mr. Khan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm still going to ask Mr. Ross that generally when there's a corner lot, the vehicle access from the front is not allowed. In this case, people apply to the transportation services. Did he apply or what happened?
No, we don't have to apply to the transport services. We apply to the Committee of Adjustment for variance, the bylaw.
But generally, sir, people apply and get a response from the transportation services, whether they can do it or not. in this case, I am little bit deficient, not having the information from such services.
I was assuming that the planning department would have submitted something to transportation services and got a reply, but they didn't get a reply. There was no indication that there was anything wrong with what we were doing. In the city of North York, the old city, there was no requirement for it having to be located at the rear or along the side of the property. That was something that came up from Toronto.
Mr. Ross, the recommendation made by the staff are before us, and we appreciate that. But as a committee member, I want to know that this important report is not before us.
Mr. Khan, just remember that this application was circulated to Transportation Services. We didn't get a comment back from them on it. So all that indicates is that they had no comment. Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
It would have been circulated with the package that's circulated to staff. Okay. Does the committee have any further questions of the speaker? Could I get a motion on this application, please? Mr. Kidd?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I accept the explanation provided by the agent with regard to the issues raised by Mr. Khan and by the neighbor. In my view, the requested variances are minor, and I'd like to put forward a motion to accept the application subject to the condition that the proposal be developed substantially in accordance with the north elevation and south elevation drawings submitted to the Committee of Adjustment and attached as attachment 1 and 2 to the planning staff report dated January the 11th, 2022, and also subject to forestry condition.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Kidd. Someone to second that motion? Ms. Sankar seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? Mr. Khan dissenting. Sir, your application's been approved subject to urban forestry and city planning conditions. On to item number 28, 126 Sherwood Avenue. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 people registered to speak. The agent is Babak Gassemi. Are you there, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Can I get your full name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Babak Gassemi. I'm the principal designer and director of Art Lab Design Studio at 355 Eagleton Avenue West, Toronto.
Great. Thank you, sir. Just want to ask for a number of reports on file with your application. There's a recommended condition from urban forestry. There's a Transportation Services report of the 12th of January recommending that your client obtain approval from on-street parking permit and enforcement regarding the driveway width, that they clarify and label on the site plan the width of the entire portion of the driveway that is located within the public right-of-way, add a notation on the site plan drawing stating that, quote, all portions of existing access driveways that are no longer required must be closed and restored with soft landscaping and full concrete curbs to the satisfaction of Transportation Services. Have you read that report, sir?
Yes, sir. We actually made some changes to our proposal. The drawing that you have on the screen is not the latest submission.
Okay, well, just before you go into that, there was also a letter from Councillor Robinson dated the 6th of January. She was requesting that this application be deferred to have neighborhood consultations. Would you like to defer the application to discuss this application with the neighbors?
I don't think it's necessary, sir, because we were able to address all of their concern in terms of like for the concerns from forestry and transportation with our revision.
Okay.
Also, I think the changes also addresses concerns from the neighborhood as well.
Okay, thank you. I'll, since we have other people registered to speak, sir, if you could give the committee a brief presentation on what you see as the merits of the proposal.
Absolutely. I would like to begin by amending our proposed variances. We are going to remove variance number 1, variance number 8.
Hang on just a second.
Maximum.
Are you proposing changes?
Yes.
Okay, can you, just a moment, just a minute. What variances are you proposing to change?
We are removing variance number 1.
Okay, number 1 gets
Or-
deleted.
Yes.
Okay, next.
Variance number 8, which is the width of the proposed driveway.
Okay, variance number 8 is deleted.
And variance number 10 for the minimum parking requirement.
Okay, which is the proposed parking space width.
Parking space, yeah.
So is that being deleted?
Those are going to be deleted, yes.
Deleted. So let me just clarify, variances 1, 8, and 10 are being deleted.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other changes?
That's all. No.
Okay, thank you. If you'd like to give the committee a presentation then on what you see as the merits of your proposal.
Absolutely. The application before you is a proposal to build a multi-level new modern dwelling with an integral garage for a client of mine who is going to not only live and work in the house, but he has a growing family in the future and will have their parents live with them. Therefore, they will need for a house a little larger than what the zoning allows. We had a chance to meet with some of our neighbors and learn about their concerns a while ago. Also, we were working closely with an arborist to make sure all the trees in the front of the yard can be protected. Designing a modern house on a narrow lot in the city of Toronto is a challenging process, which requires to amend some of the zoning bylaws in order to achieve a functional and desirable design. If you refer to the page number 3, which is the site plan that you have on the screen, 2126 Sherwood is not situated on a normal environment. Although the zoning allows for a 3 feet side yard setback on each side, there is a shared driveway between 126 Sherwood and 128 Sherwood, which results in a 1.5 meter east side yard setback on one side. In order to make up for the 60 centimeters space that is lost due to this, we decided to position the proposed house in the same location of the existing house and maintain the existing 60 centimeter setback to the property line. This helps us to retain 30 centimeter of width from the 60 centimeter width caused by the right of way, creating no adverse impact to the existing context on this property and the next door neighbor. In terms of variance number 2, our building height variance, if you refer to the previous page of the presentation, you see a map that shows all the precedents for the approved building height variance in the area. And it appears that our proposed height is more in keeping with those precedents. Now, if you refer to our page 11 of the presentation, on this side elevation, you see that our building height for 1/3 of our proposal measures only 8.8 meters high. And it's actually the next slide, this side elevation. Yes, so 1/3 of our building actually measures 8.8 meters in height, and the rest of 2/3 of the house measures 10.06 meters. This overall height is measured to the peak of the roof, and if you refer to our front elevation, you see that we really try to minimize this impact, and therefore we propose the steep 45-degree slope for the roof so that there's no adverse impact as a result of this variance. In regards to our sidewall height, if you refer to page 10 of our presentation, in our front elevation, due to the modern architecture of the house, we eliminated our roof projections. That means if we had those roof projections, the sidewall height would measure 7.88 meters, which would actually be more desirable to see on the zoning notice. However, by removing them, we actually reduced our building volume and impact on the neighboring dwellings. In terms of variance number 4, overall building depth, our overall building length for the structure, including the architectural features, measures 19 meters. However, if you refer to our floor plans, our overall length is 8.8 meters for the dwelling on the first floor, and it reduces to 18.3 meters on the second and third floor. Again, I would like to mention in terms of forestry comment, we work really closely with an arborist so that we make sure that we're not proposing to remove any trees in the front of the property. There is no, for this proposal, there's no objection from planning. Also, in regards to the comments from transportation, by flipping the house, now we're keeping the driveway and the curb cut
Can you summarize,
more or less
sir?
in the same. So by flipping the house, we are keeping the driveway and the curb cut more or less in the same location where the current shared driveway is. Therefore, there will be no adverse impact on street parking. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, I'll go to the next person on the list. I have a Sheila or Sebastian Centner, Centner. Are you there?
Mr. Chair and members, it will be Sheila who will be speaking.
Okay, Sheila Centner, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can I get your full name and address, please?
Yes, you may. My name is Sheila Sentner, and I live at 128 Sherwood Avenue with my husband, Sebastian, and I will be the only one on the call today.
Okay, thank you. If you could give us your thoughts on this application?
We have been residing at 128 Sherwood now for just over 6 years, and we are very familiar with the house next door, which is the one that is proposing the new build, 126 Sherwood Avenue. This property has switched hands 4 times in 6 years. Everyone has been trying to flip this house and build on it. Our main concerns are with forestry and the curb cuts. I appreciate the fact that the architect has been in touch with arborists, but we do believe as a neighborhood that forestry should still be consulted as there are many, many mature trees on the property. Also, I'm hoping you all received my notes on the variances and that you all have them in front of you. While I appreciate that they are going to eliminate number 1, number 8, and number 10, these are still pretty dramatic changes, and the comment about flipping the whole house literally flips the entire plan. In this case, I am asking for the Committee of Adjustments to defer this application until all neighbors have had a chance to look at the new plans. The comment about having spoken with the neighbors, I have not been reached out to once. I live directly next door. Even though I tend to travel, my husband and I, for work, the owner of the house, Hussein, does have my email address and my cell phone number. This house was also for sale literally 6 weeks ago and marketed as permits and plans approved. My intention is that he does not have a growing family because he's a single man. His parents, I believe, live in Iran. Regardless, this is an attempt to quickly get this passed so that he can sell this property. He has no consideration for the rest of us that will be left behind once he leaves this address. Once again, I am asking for a deferral until we can see the plans. Forestry can be consulted, not an arborist, the city forestry and city transportation. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, I'll go to the next person on the list. I have a Lynn Holleran. Are you there?
Yeah, sorry, if there's background noise, I'm just in my car picking up my son. Yeah, I agree with everything Sheila said.
Hey,
and
madam,
hang
on, madam. Are you Ms.
Oh, sorry,
Holleran?
Lynn Holleran.
Can
Lynn
I get your
Holleran,
full name?
131 Sherwood.
Can I get your full name and address, please?
Yes, Lynn Holleran, Holloran, 131 Sherwood. My property I've lived at for 20 years is directly across the street.
Okay, thank you. If you'd like to give us your thoughts on this application?
Yeah, just to save time, I agree with everything Sheila said. And also, I haven't been spoken to from anybody, neither architects nor the owner of the house. And my two main concerns living across the street, obviously the abundant number of variances make this project, in my opinion, quite major in nature. Even with the reduction of 3 variances, it's still a significant number of variances that remain. But my two main concerns being living in Sherwood Park for 20 years, I love the canopy, I love the trees. And while there may have been an arborist involved, I don't think city forestry has been involved, to my knowledge, or approved this. And wherever the driveway is, which doesn't exist today, I don't even know if they have pad parking approved. The radius of which the driveway, or whatever type of driveway they decide to put on, could potentially kill the tree. So I'd like to have forestry have a chance to review that, to protect these 2 gorgeous trees that make up the character of our neighborhood, Sherwood Park. And then the other issue is only 25% of the homes on the street have garages. So we as a neighborhood with Summerhill Market on Mount Pleasant, we rely on street parking. My driveway, in fact, is constantly blocked by Sherwood, the Summerhill shoppers. And, if I have family over, I don't have a garage. Only 25% of the people on the street have garages. So we rely on that street parking. So I haven't seen any new drawings to show where the curb would be, that it would stay in the same place. So I'd like to see that there will be no impacts. We have neighborhoods who have, approved parking for the street, and they rely on that for their homes. So, and that's all I have to say. So I hope that you defer this project so we can have meaningful dialogue that hasn't taken place yet with the neighborhood. Thank you.
Just to be clear, madam, it's up to the applicant if he wants to ask for a deferral, okay? And he hasn't asked.
Oh, I understand. Okay.
Okay.
But we haven't had any dialogue with the applicant. So.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the speaker? Being none, we'll go to the next person, Sylvia or Peter Baker. Are you there?
Yes, we are.
Mr. Chair, yeah, I was going to say it's Peter Baker in this case.
Mr. Baker, can I get your full name and address, please?
Yes, it's Peter Baker. I live at 124 Sherwood Avenue.
Okay, thank you. If you'd like to give us your thoughts on this application.
Well, I totally support the previous 2 speakers. Literally, we heard about the flipping of the architectural plans last night when the owner came to our house, and he stood inside our house and briefly said that the changes have been made to the architectural drawings, and they're going to try to preserve the 2 trees in front of 126 Sherwood that the previous speaker spoke about, and that the driveway will be on the east side of the property and not the west side as originally planned. The owner also alluded to some changes that were expressed in our submissions. That is the lowering of the deck at the back of the house, the removal of windows along the sidewalls, and the installation of skylights. But he seemed to be quite vague about things. So our concern at this point is that we would like to see the architectural drawings, the new drawings. It's very hard to read it on the screen and analyze what's going on there, but we would like to see the new architectural drawings. We would also like to see the reports from the urban forestry to see that the trees are in compliance with urban forestry requirements, and also transportation, because as the previous speaker spoke, we're concerned about the parking space that's quite adequate in front of the, currently quite adequate in front of the property. So I don't think I have to go through my original submission because they were based upon the previous architectural drawings. But I really feel that the application came in with a ratcheting up of the minor variances with 10 requests for minor variances. And now we're seeing 3 of them drop, but that leaves seven variances. Some of these variances range from 20 to 40% in excess of the zoning bylaws. And I think that's just too much ratcheting up of the zoning bylaws. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, we'll go back to the agent. Mr. Ghassemi, are you there?
Yes, sir.
You've heard the
We
comments from the
actually-
previous speakers. If you'd like to respond.
Yes. So we actually tried to talk to all the neighbors that are present today. We spoke to 124 Sherwood multiple times. The neighbor across at 131, I think they were not home. We tried twice. And Sheila at 128, I think she was in Florida as far as I heard when we reached out to her. In regards to the comments that arise with forestry and transportation, at the end of the day, they have to give clearance to this proposal, and we actually did what they were proposing, they were asking us to do. Flipping the house puts the location of the driveway in the same location of the existing driveway, which we can see on the site plan, and it does not change the curb cut by much. Again, you can see that on the site plan as well. I feel that most of the concerns are coming from street parking. Having a garage, an integral garage, and a proper driveway puts the cars for this resident into their own property as opposed to on the street. So I think this is a very good proposal for this situation. In conclusion, I believe that the variances are minor in nature and it maintains the general intent of the purpose, intent and purpose of the city's zoning bylaws and official plan, and they cause no adverse impact on the immediate or broader context.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, could I get a motion on this application, please? Ms. Sankar?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. You know, just another application that on the onset, you know, with transportation's concerns, I was very concerned as well. But the amendments made by the applicant here today to eliminate some of the variances help ease that concern around transportation. And I did hear the debutantes, a lot of them talking about the parking variances as well as a number of other variances, and specifically around forestry, for which we do have a city concern around forestry, and this property, if approved, will be subject to forestry. So they can't move in any which way unless, you know, urban forestry approves and makes sure that those trees are inspected and reviewed and if need be protected as well in their expertise. So with all of that in mind, what's left over with the variances, I do feel sits well with me. I don't ordinarily like people remaking applications on the spot, but in this case, I'm going to say that the explanations provided by the applicant here today makes me rethink my original position. And so for that reason, I'll move approving this application with the changes that were made here by the applicant today, such that variance number 1, variance number 8, and variance number 10 are eliminated. I'll make this application subject to forestry, and I don't think that there was anything
Yeah,
else,
there was
no other staff.
transportation services.
And subject to transportation services, they do address it by the elimination of variances, but I'll put it subject to the transportation
They had that,
concern.
they had that requirement that they had to put in the notation about eliminating the driveway and taking out the permits.
Okay, so make it subject to that as
Yeah.
well. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Someone to second Ms. Sankar's motion? Mr. Hunt seconds. All those in favor? And motion carries. Sir, your revised application's been unanimously approved, subject to urban forestry and transportation services conditions.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Item number 29, 621 Millwood Road. I have one person registered to speak. That's a Marco Ruzzolini. Ruzzolino, I'm sure I've mispronounced that. Sir, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, can I get your full name and address, please?
Sure. So Marco Razzolini, I am the applicant for 621 Millwood. My address is 1140 the Queensway.
Okay, thank you, sir. I just wanted to ask, there's a couple of reports on file with your application, one from Urban Forestry, a recommended condition. There's a report from Transportation Services from the 12th of January. Pardon me, recommending that the applicant acquire and maintain a front yard parking license and renew it annually. Remove curb cut flaring, the existing sidewalk within the site frontage on Millwood Road must be continuous through the driveway, and landscaping must be removed and retained with concrete public sidewalks. And add a notation on the site plan drawing stating that, quote, all portions of existing access driveways that are no longer required must be closed and restored with soft landscaping and full concrete curbs to the satisfaction of transportation services, unquote. The opportunity to review those reports, sir?
We have reviewed the reports. We have no issues with them, and we are in the final stages of obtaining the front yard parking permit. I believe it's conditional on approval today.
Great, thank you, sir. I just wanted to ask, we have, just looking at we have 3 variances before us. It's pretty clear what you're asking for. I'll just ask, is there anything that you'd like to tell the committee that isn't contained in the material we have before us today?
Nothing new, but happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, sir. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? Can I get a motion on this application, please? Mr. Khan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. After listening the applicant, I think, and having the transport services letter read by you and the condition set forth by the organization and acknowledged by the applicant. So I move that this application be approved, subject to the 4 conditions set forth by the transport services as well as forestry conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Someone to second that motion? Ms. Sankar seconds. All those in favor? That motion carries unanimously. Sir, your application has been unanimously approved, subject to urban forestry and transportation services conditions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 30, 300 Eagleton Avenue West. I have 2 people registered to speak. The agent is a Peter Gross. Are you there, sir?
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair. I am here.
Can I get your full name and address, please?
Yes, Peter Gross, Gross, 100 King Street West, Suite 1600, Toronto.
Okay, thank you, sir. I wanted to ask, there's a somewhat ambiguous report from Transportation Services, which was dated the 12th of January, which are really advisory comments without any recommendation. And I'm looking back and seeing that there were, this was deferred back in over a year ago, so that you could discuss some of these parking issues with Transportation Services. And it appears to me that nothing's been achieved. Have you, can you elaborate to the committee?
Yes,
what's taken place since
yes,
we deferred this?
certainly, Mr. Chair, and thank you for raising that because that was going to be the first issue that I addressed for you and to the committee members. Good afternoon. The application first came before the committee on November 4th, 2021, approximately 4 months ago. And at that time, I submitted to the committee that staff had not filed any comments or objections to the proposed variances. At that time, the chair, however, kindly pointed out to me that in fact, Toronto Transportation Services had in fact filed comments dated October 28, 2021, and they requested deferral on the basis that the applicant had not filed a parking justification report to support the reduced parking. In fact, the application materials that were submitted in September did include a parking justification report. It was uploaded to the city's development portal system on September 17th, 2021, 6 weeks prior to the Committee of Adjustment meeting. And the report was prepared by a qualified transportation expert in consultation with Transportation Services staff, Mr. Godley Abraham. Unfortunately, the comments dated October 28th were written by another staff member in Transportation Services who was unaware and did not consider or discuss that report. Therefore, at that meeting, they requested a deferral. However, it was on the erroneous understanding that there was no transportation report, which in fact there was. So I hope that explains sort of the November 4th problem. The report was submitted, but Transportation Services didn't, for some reason, have an awareness of it.
Okay.
Can I answer any questions with that part of the issues first?
I just want to, if there was a report that you prepared and submitted, it's not contained in the material that we have. All we have is this ambiguous report from it's just a comment really from Transportation Services. There's no recommendation. And then I note that there was an email from your, I guess it would be your transportation consultant to this Godley Abraham person indicating that they apparently had gone along with some discussion. There's nothing here that's really clarifies anything, but so I take it you don't want to defer this to discuss it further with them. You'd like to proceed today?
We have had several discussions with Transportation Services over the past number of months since the deferral. We had several email correspondences on the day of the deferral to clarify for them that in fact there was a parking justification report. Once it was brought to their attention by the city's planner that in fact it was part of the original submission, they reviewed that and they raised with us that the transportation planner who wrote the original October report said he didn't do surveys. We then went back to Mr. Abraham, who is that.
Sir, hang on a second. I suggest you give the committee a brief presentation then on what you see as the merits of your proposal.
Okay.
All right.
Sure, Mr. Chair, thank you. The parking variances are supported by a parking justification report, which has concluded that the surrounding built-out environment and infrastructure characteristics of the area are supportive of sustainable transportation modal shares, and it recommends traffic demand measures aimed at improving active mode competitiveness. There are 3 transit routes operating within 200 meters of the property, and when the Eagleton LRT opens later this year, the property will be within 50 meters of a major transit station. The reduction in the residential parking component is entirely consistent with the city's newly adopted standards for multi-unit residential zones that prescribe no minimum parking requirements. That is, for multi-unit residential zones, there is a 0 residential parking requirement in what was adopted by council in December. Since the deferral, we have spoken a number of times with transportation staff in regard to the required components of the parking justification report. The consultant advised me this morning that his discussions with staff in regard to the comment about quantification that the chair has just referred to is neutral. Staff do not request refusal and do not request deferral or objection in the staff comments that are before you dated January 12th, 2022. There is also a related platform variance that was requested by Heritage Preservation Services, as in their view, it is a 0.2 variance to better allow the heritage attributes of the building to be displayed. Finally, and I will only take another moment because I know we're running out of time, we understand that there is a neighbor, an abutting neighbor, who has objections to the application. That neighbor was kind enough to submit their written concerns in a letter to us. We've reviewed the objections, and each of the objections are solely construction related. They relate to a snow loading study that they would like done. It relates to a request for pre-construction surveys and vibration monitoring. It's a request for a traffic mitigation plan to make sure that their parking access isn't blocked during construction. And it is a request for a guarantee that there be no access to the roof of the abutting neighbor during construction, which obviously, as the committee knows, would constitute a trespass without consent. We had, notwithstanding that these concerns are entirely construction related, our client's land use planner, in the spirit of being a good neighbor, did engage in discussions with the neighbor's land use planner yesterday, and they have agreed to hold further discussions on Friday in regard to the neighbor's construction concerns. Our neighbor had previously discussed these construction concerns and had agreed to several of the requests made by the neighbor for construction-related studies, and then the neighbor refused to grant access to our client's experts in order to carry out the studies. But we fully intend to engage in constructive discussions about those issues, but as the committee knows, those issues are not planning issues, and they are not before the committee. In conclusion, in our view, the addition of 2 additional residential units is highly desirable as the city continues its efforts to deal with an acute shortage of rental housing. On this basis, it is our opinion that the variances are minor in nature, both in size and impact, are appropriate for the desirable development and use of the land, and conform with the general intent of both the official plan and the zoning bylaw, and we respectfully request that the committee approve the variances. So that concludes my remarks, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate the committee's attention.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? There being none, we'll go to the next person on the list. I have a Kelly O'Hanlon. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Mr. Chair.
Yes, can I get your full name and address, please?
Yep, my name is Kelly O'Hanlon. My address is 6 Jacks Avenue, and I've been retained as the land use planner by the neighboring property to the west at 302 Eagleton Avenue West.
Okay, thank you. If you'd like to give us your comments on this application.
Sure, thank you for the opportunity to speak on this item. So I'm representing 302 Eagleton. It's currently a 2-story building with an eating establishment on the ground floor and residential units above. Parking and loading for the building is located at the back and accessed off the rear lane. As just introduced, we did have conversations with the owner and Mr. Peter of 300 Eagleton, and we wish to continue these discussions with the owner, but we would like to raise our concerns. As Peter did mention, they are construction related, but minor variance can be approved if it is indeed minor in nature, which is evaluated based on impact on surrounding properties and land use. For reasons that I'll list, the proposal will have a negative impact on the commercial business of our property, including major disruption to the loading requirements and inhibit our ability to provide accessible parking to our tenants. So as we continue discussions with 300 Eagleton, we do believe that a favorable resolution can be reached. But a few of these issues that I'll raise right now. So a third story is being proposed, which would be higher than the building currently located at 302 Eglington. Given the close proximity of the two buildings, there is a concern of additional snow load, which will lead to which has the potential to lead to structural damages. It's imperative that a snow load study do be performed at the expense of 300 Eglington. Further, given the proximity of the two sites, proper mitigation should be in place prior to construction. It was expressed that the city requires our consent to allow excavation near the property line for the purposes of their construction. Given the heritage context of these buildings, a qualified engineer does need to show that adequate measures will be taken during construction. Third, Eagleton Avenue West has been under construction for the Eagleton LRT, causing prolonged disruption to retail businesses in this area. We do request that a construction mitigation plan be shared with us to ensure that additional construction traffic can be adequately managed and not cause further disruption to the business on the block. Our tenants, both retail and residential, rely on the parking and loading space located off the rear lane. The applicant has not been able to ensure that this space would be accessible throughout the construction of the proposed development. It also needs to be proven that this remains an accessible fire access through construction. So as I did mention, and as Peter mentioned, we have been in conversation with them, and we look forward to continuing those conversations.
Yes,
that concludes my...
Yes, madam, can I ask?
Yep, sorry.
Yeah, can I ask, do you have any objections to the parking variance?
We have no objection to the parking variance as it relates to the number of parking spaces on their property. There is a rear lane at the back of the properties, which we just need to be ensured that, so there's no access off of the west end of the laneway. Both the egress and ingress is off of the east side. So with our property being located at the end of this laneway, we do need some assurance that will continue to be continue to our residents and our tenants.
And madam, there's it's a shared right of way, correct? It's a mutually shared
Correct.
right of way.
Correct.
And it's shared between you and your neighbor, correct?
Yeah, all the everybody off of that laneway.
Yeah, so yeah, it's shared in common, which means it has to be kept open.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? Mr. Khan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Hanlon, you mentioned a very important thing for me to consider. Snow accommodation because of the third story. Is it right you mentioned that?
Yes.
Madam, my question
Yes, that's
is,
correct.
Ms. Hanlon, my question is, how far is your property which will be affected by the snow accumulation from this third story?
Our properties are adjacent, basically directly. Our property at 302 is 2 stories, and they're proposing an additional third story. So we do think it can be mitigated, but a snow load study does need to be performed by the applicant at their expense in order to make sure that our property will not be impacted by this construction.
You didn't answer my question. How far is your property?
They're touching. They're adjacent.
Any distance?
I don't know. Maybe Peter has that offhand.
Do they share a common wall?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We'll go back. Any further questions of the speaker? We'll go back to the Mr. Gross. Are you there?
Yes, I am, sir.
Yes, Mr. Gross, you've heard the comments from Ms. O'Hanlon. I guess you understand their concerns about maintaining access to their property and that they're not affected by any construction that takes place on your lot. I guess, are you prepared to commit to making sure that that doesn't happen?
We absolutely understand our obligations to keep the common laneway clear for both this neighbor and any other neighbors that may use the laneway. The construction team obviously will be apprised of that. I would mention that if there's any impediment or if any issues arise, of course, the owner can be contacted, but it's an enforcement issue. But we certainly are prepared to commit in writing that we will do everything within our control to make sure that there is no impact to the access and parking for our good neighbor at 302 Eagleton Avenue West.
Okay, thank you, sir. I just wanted to add, you've already made the point that this site is going to be next to the Eagleton LRT. I just wanted, when I was up taking a look at the area, I noted that there's about a 5-minute walk away. There's a Toronto Parking Authority lot on Burnaby Boulevard. It's got about 150 spaces in it. So it seems to me that there's certainly enough overflow parking around to accommodate the 3-space shortfall. That's, again, so did your consultant take that into consideration?
Yes, that was raised in the report as one of the mitigating factors in reducing the parking, is that there is adequate supplementary parking nearby.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any further questions of the speaker? There being none, could I get a motion on this application, please? Mr. Khan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. After listening to Mr. Gross and the other party, I am still confused that why the transportation services within their department and with correspondence with Mr. Gross did not arrive at a decision one way or the other. And still they are suggesting in their letter of January 12th that this should be deferred or refused. So I'm taking all these 1 and 2 variances to be not minor. Therefore, I take this view and make my opinion that this application be refused.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr.
Mr.
Khan
Chair.
to refuse the application. Someone to second that motion? Ms. Sankar seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? There's a tie. I won't support that motion. Can I get another motion? Mr. Kidd?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Like my other colleagues on the panel, I'm a little perplexed as to why there's been so much discussion with the Transportation Department, and we're not getting. Ordinarily, I would be looking to Transportation report for direction on this, but I feel that if Transportation was opposed to this project or wanted it deferred, they have had ample opportunity to tell us that. So I'm going to put forward a motion to accept this application, particularly given the fact that it is there's so much public transportation adjacent to this site. I think it's an appropriate development.
Someone to second Mr. Kidd's motion? Mr. Hunt seconds. All those in favor? Okay, in favor? Okay. Opposed? A tie vote, and all support Mr. Kidd's motion. That motion carries. Sir, your application's been approved. Thank you very much.
And to you, thank you to the committee and to you, Mr. Chair, for the generous use of time today. Much appreciated.
Thank you. We are on, actually, we haven't got anything outstanding. This is the end of the meeting. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. Chair, 25.
What's that?
25, yeah.
Number 25.
25.
Which one?
Number 25.
Number 25.
468 Whitmore.
Go on, hang on.
Apparently the applicant has signed in under a different name.
Mr. Chair, members, to what I understand, the applicant originally signed in under a different name than he registered this with the city. He has since signed out of the meeting and has re-signed in with the name he registered with the city.
Okay, hang on just a second.
So item number 25 is
25?
468 Whitmore Ave, A0701
Oh, yeah.
/21 NY.
468 Whitmore.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
We don't have an owner or an agent here?
We do have, the owner is on the line.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Wills, thank you, Mr. Lamb. I'm sorry, committee, we have one left. Item number 25, 468 Whitmore Avenue.
Yes, my name is Mohammed Eden Himal. Sorry for the confusion with the signing.
Well, okay,
I've
all
been
right.
sitting here since
Okay,
1 p.m.
Can I get your full name and address, please?
Yeah, it's Mohammed Eden Himal, 468 Whitmore Avenue, Toronto, Ontario. I'm the owner of 468 Whitmore Avenue.
Okay, thank you, sir. Just before we start, I just went through your file. There are no comments or recommended conditions from staff. I note that there are four variances here. It's pretty clear what you're asking for. I'll just ask, is there anything you'd like to tell the committee that isn't contained in the material we have before us today?
No, everything is very straightforward. It's just we spoke with the city and nobody had any comments. Nobody had any objection. We spoke with the neighbors. No neighbors had any objection, and the application is completely a true reflection of what kind of development is happening. I'm not a developer, but I'm not pushing the envelope. I'm trying to do anything that will satisfy my family need, and that's what I will end it.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any questions of the speaker? Being none, could I get a motion on this application, please? Mr. Khan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I find this application has minor variances, therefore complies with the zoning bylaws and move for approval of this application.
Okay, thank you. Someone to second Mr. Khan's motion? That motion carries. I'm sorry, Mr. Kidd seconds. All those in favor? Got it. Thank you. That motion carries. Sir, your application's been unanimously approved without condition. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
day.
you. Committee, we're done. If I could get a motion to terminate the meeting. Mr. Hunt, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much. Committee, thank you. In case I didn't say it, Happy New Year. And I'm looking at the side, the screens are here. Thank you.
Okay, bye, everyone. See you
Bye
tomorrow.
now.